Good morning, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Tuesday, the 5th day of December, 2023. This is a budget hearing for the Clerk's Office Municipal Council with the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had an 11 a.m. scheduled start time. It is now 11:06. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this budget hearing? Council President? Okay. We have one council member in attendance at 11:06 a.m. In addition, at its time of preparation, the notice of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Wednesday, November 29, 2023 at 4:15 p.m. and a reminder was sent out on Friday, December 1st, 2023 at 1:45 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers. So I can certify as to the total compliance with the Sunshine Law. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to the council president.
Good morning, everyone. Well, let's start this meeting. I'm quite sure some of the other council people will join us, but I'd really like to start on time. Okay.
Sure.
Let's start with the city council office first.
Absolutely. I'm going to turn it over to Tammy.
Good morning, Council President. Let's get started. This is the Office of the Municipal Council overview. The first page explains the responsibilities of both the city council members and the city council aides. It's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions? Next, we have our table of organization. And at the top, you'll see Council President with her aides. Listed under her would be the councils at large with their aides, and then all the remaining council members with their respective aides. There's also a part of the staff in the office set where you will see myself, who is council administrator, and Jessica Webster, the council receptionist. Next, we have our council budget analysis. And as you can see, really much has not changed. Also with the staff, there's only been an addition of one. Next are our goals achieved. And that would be pay transparency, the right to choose sanctuary city legislation, the Women's Advisory Board of Jersey City legislation, the establishment of the Cannabis Board legislation, right to counsel legislation, New Jersey Reparation Task Force Act legislation. Our 2024 goals are the rent control legislation, the public school partnership, and the annual Harvest Fall Festival. Last but not least are the budget changes for 2024. Please take a look at each line item. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Do you have any questions?
Finance, let me ask you a question. I see when it comes, I don't see like a line item, maybe is grouped in other expenses. Maybe that's where it is for training.
Yes, so all the training funding is in human resources.
Is in where?
Human resources.
Okay, so all
So,
of the training goes.
Yeah, there's an allocation for your office
Right.
and all the departments in HR.
Okay, so, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I just want to make sure. Okay. Good.
Okay, I guess the city clerk is up. All right. So going through our presentation, the Office of the City Clerk overview. For people at home that don't know, the municipal clerk is the secretary to the municipal council, secretary to the municipality, keeper of the seal, chief election officer of the municipality, and the individual responsible for records management of the city. The Office of the City Clerk handles Open Public Records Act requests, or also known as OPRA requests. Right now, as of December 1st, we have 4,852 requests that were filed. Actually, we're breaking a record, all-time record this year. So who knows, maybe we'll hit 5,000. Hopefully not. The Office of the City Clerk processes applications for all vital records. Our office also handles city council agendas, municipal code book, landlord registration forms, municipal service applications, sound truck permits, and all elections within the city of Jersey City. Going over our budget and staff totals, as you can see, our budget pretty much stood even. I am requesting the same amount of increases for certain staff members, so that's why you see a little bit of an increase in 2024. I've asked for these increases for the last 2 years, so it's the same thing going forward. The employees headcount, I'm proud to say that since 2022, we've stood the most employees in our office that I've been around. I've been in the office of the city clerk since 1997, and we never had 15 employees total, counting the clerk. So I'm proud of that. Next is our table of organization. This is pretty self-explanatory from the top down to all of the staff members. Next, any questions so far? Okay. Next are our key performance indicators. So we have our ordinances. They're running steady. We have our marriage licenses that were issued. Again, this is currently, that's as of December 1st, that number. The OPA request, as you can see, has grown and it keeps growing. And the debt certificates, pretty steady, unfortunately. And then next is the birth certificates. So you'll see there's a huge, almost double the amount, actually a little more than double the amount from 2022 to current. And that, I believe, is because we've changed our appointments from every half hour to every 15 minutes. So we have a lot more people coming in for their birth certificates. And obviously, once the word got out that we're issuing birth certificates, we've gotten more requests through the mail and in person as well. Next is our budget changes. I'm not going to go through every line item unless you guys have specific questions on any of the line items. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I'd like to thank Amani Brown for all of her hard work helping me put this together. And the general and primary election budget changes. So we always have to have this account opened and enough money in the account for the fees that are charged by the county with the primary and the general elections and our responsibilities. The municipal election budget changes, so we always have to have some type of money in this account as well. God forbid there's a vacancy or there's some type of special election that has to happen. We always have to have money in the account, and that's why you have the amount in there. The annual audit is moved to finance, so we just wanted to show that again. Don't know why we had the audit under us, but you know, now it's moved into the right department. So it's that. And our budget changes in 2024 operational needs. So same thing as in June, the supply costs have increased due to a high volume of requests for birth, marriage, death, as well as an increase of priced and certified copy paper. So we've been really going through certified copy paper like water, unfortunately, and we always have to have at least 3 months worth of certified copy paper in-house. So that's why our spending with our supply, I think that goes under supplies, if I'm not mistaken. Our supplies have gone up a little bit because of the certified copy paper and plus the addition of having birth certificates for the second year. Advertisement costs have increased due to advertising in multiple newspapers. That includes the Jersey Journal and the El Specialito. Our operational needs, the city clerk's office will need to raise salaries of some non-management and management employees to promote 2 current employees to managerial positions as they already assumed managerial responsibilities. The office of the clerk will need to hire at least 1 employee for the record center. I'm looking to actually promote within. I know there's a couple of DPW workers that were inquiring and interested about the position to work on the Sidney Harris he's now down at Marion Gardens. I would prefer that. Obviously, we'll bring him in for an interview, and I know that HR actually posted the title, and we received a couple of resumes, but we haven't brought anybody in yet because I really want Sydney Harris taken care of before I bring in someone, because at this point, he's making 48,000, and if I bring someone in, a brand new employee making 42,500, I don't think that's very fair to Sydney Harris, who's doing 2 jobs for the price of 1, and it's a really low salary.
We can't just promote.
Sure.
So we just increase Sydney, salary in this way here? Because he's doing both jobs.
Right. So, I mean, if we can't put him into a management position, which is fine, I think the records manager title is a local 246 title.
Okay,
So if we promote him to that, I think we can give him the increase that I'm looking to give him. And I think that would suffice. And then we'll be able to bring in another employee to him for help.
okay. Okay. So it would that be a problem with anybody else in your office going to that title? Because I know sometime when I deal with these situations, then because they got union contracts, then it's always
Yep.
a problem. I just want to make sure.
So I would work very closely with finance and also human resources to make sure that we are following the rules as far as the union contracts. I believe what the whole point is, if you want to promote somebody in a union, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that you have to find a title that you can promote them to and then raise the salary, because you just can't give a salary
Right.
increase without some type of promotion, especially when they're in the union.
Okay,
And in the others, Amanda Bransky, who is monitoring the meeting for us, she's somebody who I want to promote into the second deputy position. She handles vital records for us. This is the last 2 years I've been asking for the same thing, for her to be promoted into a management position. Also, Marlene Sandkamp, who's been with me from day one since I took over as being city clerk. And she's responsible for all the appointments in the office. She worked with me hand in hand during the pandemic and definitely deserves an increase. And obviously, the gentleman who is sitting next to me to my right and your left, my deputy city clerk, John Hallinan, has taken on an additional responsibility with being the secretary to the Ethical Standards Board. So I wanted to give him a little stipend so he can do those jobs, because those meetings are at night, just like our meetings at 6 p.m. And most secretaries that do that type of work receive an additional salary on top of what their daily duties are. And John takes care of all the other aspects of the office too. Any questions with that?
let me just ask, finance. So, there's only one position that's open in your department that you need covered.
So right now, we're asking for the one for Sydney Harris, but I do have 2 vacancies that I would like to fill, but not this year, not even next year. I'm looking probably 2025. Because we can always use the additional help for Oprah, because Oprah is growing, as you can see in our key performance indicators. I would like to have more than half of my staff on Oprah, but it's hard to do that because, you have all the other aspects of the job that we handle. But those 2 vacancies are not budgeted for. That's why I'm saying
Okay,
I
they're not in
don't.
the budget.
No, I don't want to do that this year. I'm more looking to do that in 2025.
Let me ask finance a question. If the titles are not budgeted, are the increase budgeted? Like when you want to increase your staff, is that in the budget too, or no?
Well, when we initially draft the budget, we'll have to include any new positions. So when the finance department presents the actual budget for 24, we would include those if it was approved by the administration in the org chart.
I got you. So they really not, the increases are not really in the budget. They're not,
Now we're operating based on the
Right.
budget of last year.
okay,
Until we introduce something for 24, or until we get a definitive directive from the administration on what to include in our draft for the council.
okay. All right, I just want to know how that works pretty much, you know.
each department actually makes requests. And I think what finance, I don't want to speak for finance, but what they do is they take in the request and they use it and they go through priorities. And I actually included a copy of our org chart from our org chart meeting, what the increases that I was looking for. It's the third part of the handout, just so you guys know.
Gotcha.
And our budget there's a copy of our budget too, if you have any questions, what I requested and what is what was budgeted for last year.
Gotcha. Let me ask finance this question. Because of the cost of living has went up so in the city, are we including in our budget this year like a cost of living raise across the board for all employees? I think that might be
Not at the moment. Prior years, I believe 2 or 3 years ago, we did do that for management, but that was done towards the end of the year after, analysis that we'd have surplus within salaries across the city. Currently, we haven't gotten a directive to include that. In last year's budget, we did present a budget with $2 million for salary adjustments, which was then reduced down to $1 million just to cover specifically union contracts that would require retroactive increases. So we didn't plan anything for across the board management increases last year. And right now it's not the priority for us and next year, because first we have to go through all of the existing liabilities with union steps, and we want to make sure that we balance the budget, get to a point where there's no substantial, tax change, and then we start adding those discretionary items in. So it's something that we have to work with the administration on if that's a priority for them, that across the board. But typically it's been spot promotions and filling vacancies where management employees have been receiving increases over the last 2 budgets.
Okay, I just know because of the cost of living, I know I receive so many calls because it's affecting, the employees too, to be perfectly honest. So that's why I was saying, do we have anything in place for a cost of living raise across the board? Because I mean, if people working as taxes increase, they're being affected one way or another. So I'm just saying, I mean, we bonding to get this fixed and that fixed, and we going because it's just going out for another loan. At this point, I think we need to focus on enforcement, because I think we're losing a lot of revenue enforcement. I think our assessor office need to focus on, are we assessing property value right? That's just me looking at some of the budget items.
Okay,
Instead of us keep going out for a loan, I'm trying to figure out how can we just enforce what we have to see how much revenue we are bringing, and then maybe this can help some of the staff with a cost of living too. Because I'm telling you, it's really hard. It's very hard for people. I don't want to. It's very hard.
and I think we're very conscious of that.
Yeah.
When I came over to finance, there were things that we were put structure in order. So human resources and finance
Right.
have to work hand in hand. And so as you see here today, or with the budget presentation, all the directors put in requests.
Right.
And all these requests are different in various stages, right? Some directors are asking for a 3% cost increase. One are doing 2, one are 5. So I think I've said before is that we are preparing to do this compensation study for management, but at the same time, understanding the rolling requests that come in. That is something that, ABA Chanel Robinson is hearing up and spearheading in that regard. So it's not that finance isn't aware of it. It's about what we can afford and how we can balance it. We did do a cost of living increase about a year and a half ago, not last year's, but the prior year budget. So again, I think once we realize what we can afford, what are the priorities based on what the directors are saying, as Sean Gallagher said, he's like, I would like 2 staff now or in the future budgets, but his priorities are making sure that his team is taken care of. And so
Right.
that is something that we are measuring in order to kind of sort of satisfy those requests and bringing it back to the administration when we do come back to introduce. So.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Director. And just So, our office took on additional responsibility back in 2022 and actually this year as well. So in 2022, birth certificates was the first big undertaking that we had to do. And we did the job really well, if you ask me. We have a great relationship with the state registrar. So we're really doing well with that. No complaints. I'll knock on wood when I say that. And if there were any complaints, we took care of them in-house. We have new election responsibilities starting this year in the primary. So the poll workers are used to going to the county building to pick up their supplies and to drop it off. Now they do that here and in our caucus room, which I'm sure you all have seen, all of the suitcases that are stacked, almost to the ceiling like the day before the election. And then the day after the election, they're restacked again. So, that was a lot of overtime because, now we have to work on election day. I bring in most of my staff, so we're able to facilitate the poll workers bringing in the supplies. Again, it's extra work with not many employees that we have, and I think we've done an amazing job. And I've always said this: without a great staff, you don't have a good leader. And I'm very blessed to have a great staff, and I have employees that have been here longer than myself, and I have new employees, and everybody seems to be working well, and the morale in my office is still good. I'm just a little nervous that morale is going to start to go down if I've been asking for the last 2-3 years for increases for my staff, and I'm not getting them for whatever reason that is. And I understand the budget's tight, and but when it's all said and done, these individuals that I'm asking for have demonstrated excellent service to the community, excellent service to, customers that come in, and they excel at their jobs and what they do. I wouldn't be looking to promote them if they weren't. The last thing in our operational needs, I wanted to touch on this because my deputy was the lead on this. So the clerk's office has digitized the Board of Alderman minute books from 1861 to 1913. So those are completed. Now the commission minute books are being worked on currently from 1913 to 1961. That should be completed by the end of 2024. I don't want to be held to that, but more than likely it will. And once completed, depending how much money is left in the budget, we will continue digitizing the remainder of the governing body minutes up to 2020 when the city began using iCompass. So what that means, council members, is that eventually we're going to have on our website minutes from 1861 to present. I don't think there's not a municipality that I can think of that has that kind of information on their website. So you guys should be proud of that as well as I am. So I think it's fantastic. And again, John was definitely the lead on that. And I want to put him on the mic because he's going to tell you a little bit more about the company that does the digitizing. And they do such a great job. And they're actually city-run, Jersey City-based company. Hold on.
So the company that is digitizing our records is Hudson County Community Enterprises. They're right here in Jersey City. They're actually up a few blocks away on Montgomery Street. They've been working on our records, and the great thing about this company, not only do they do great work, but 90% of their employees are Jersey City residents, and most of their employees are folks with special needs. So this is a company that is doing great work with great people for a great public service. So I think we can all be very happy that we're giving back to the community through this contract. A lot of times departments and divisions come here asking for money and it's going to a corporation and that money doesn't come back to the community. That's not the case here. And it's a really, to employ an overused phrase, it's a win-win. And so again, as Sean mentioned, we are targeting hopefully 2025 to have everything digitized. The challenge, of course, being that some books, for whatever reason, some are in better shape than others. Ironically, the Board of Alderman books, because of the way they were bound, held up better than some of the books from the 50s and 40s, and those pages are deteriorating. So we were hoping to get some of this stuff done already, but each book is a different experience. Some books, even within a decade series, are in better shape than others. So it is proving to be a bit of a challenge, but they've met the challenge every single time. So again, this will be a great resource, not just for the public, but even internally. Every week we get requests from planning or some department asking for some ordinance that was passed sometimes generations ago. And if they don't have the date that it was adopted, it requires a great deal of manpower to go through all these books. And every time you go into these books, you run the risk of creating more damage to the books that are already falling apart. Once we have this digitized, it's searchable. People will be able to just go online, go into the link, and then search for what they're looking for using keywords. So it's going to expedite research for planning or law department, whoever needs to use it, and for members of the public who want to know what the council was doing decades ago. So it's looking forward to seeing this wrap up, but we will need your help to make sure that that happens.
Thank you. Question, guys?
Yeah, Sean, would you put it in your budget to get us, we have a sink in the caucus room that empties into a bucket underneath the sink. We need running water in there. That's number one. Number two, can we get our caucus room back? I mean, they took it away from us. They remodeled in there. They never came to any of us in the council and explained to us anything. But it's an inconvenience to have to go downstairs to the basement to have a meeting. There's no privacy at all in our council chambers.
So on your first request, I think what we can do is contact DPW and find out why there's no plumbing in your sink. And hopefully we can find some type of plumbing where they can go in and run the pipe to a drain, and then you wouldn't have to have a bucket underneath there. I didn't know that was
They couldn't
occurring.
do it. They couldn't do it.
They couldn't do it.
They couldn't do it.
I don't see
Okay,
why they.
maybe is there another way they can move the sink into another area?
This room over there. And so if we could have moved out more, they could have done it.
Ah,
I had asked that question myself,
okay.
and DPW said they could not do it.
So that, that's not something that we would have to put in the budget. It would be a request from DPW, but it
Correct.
seems like that was already requested, and unfortunately they couldn't
They took
make
it.
that happen.
Well, there were, as far as I know, there was running water before.
No, it never was running water in there.
There may have been running water, but there was never a drain in that area. So I don't know. And I did not know that was even the case. This is the first time I'm hearing it.
And the other thing is, like, they took away our boardroom up here, which that was a beautiful boardroom. I think we should get it back, and who's ever in there should get out of there and give us back our board.
So that is definitely an administration call. That's beyond my scope. We have the caucus room downstairs on the ground floor, but we only use that for closed sessions. We do all our caucuses and council meetings here in the chambers. So I think it's a lot easier for the council members to be up here, and a lot easier for the departments and divisions that have to come for the caucuses and explain, especially, because we can spread out here and members of the public can also come, which they do. Downstairs is kind of confined, if you ask me, but it is a beautiful room. I understand your concerns, Councilman, but again, that is definitely an administration call. That's beyond my scope.
Well, I think we should go to the administration, because I think they had some nerve taking away our boardroom up here, where if you want to speak to somebody privately, all the walls are open. It's a joke. So you got to get to the kitchen, that kitchen area, and hide yourself in there.
I understand your concerns,
Okay.
Councilman.
All right.
Are there any other questions? Well, I think I say it all the time, teamwork makes the dream work. But again, I have to thank Amani Brown, our fiscal officer, the Department of Finance, and the administration. Hopefully, my requests are fulfilled and I can help my staff out, because they do a great job. We do a lot of work with a little amount of people. And I want to congratulate Tammy again on a great budget presentation. And thanks so much.
Motion to adjourn at 11:36 a.m. Motion made by Council President Waterman, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Okay, we are out of here at 11:36 a.m. Thank you and have a good day.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We are back on the record. Today is Tuesday, the 5th day of December in the year 2023. This is a budget hearing for the Department of Finance with the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 12 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 12:08 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this budget hearing? Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
We have 3 council members in attendance at 12:08 p.m. In addition, at the time of its preparation, the notice of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Wednesday, November 29th, 2023 at 4:15 p.m. And a reminder was sent out on Friday, December 1st, 2023 at 1:45 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers, so I can certify as to total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, I'm going to turn it over to you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to turn it over to Councilperson Mira Prinzary, who is chairing this meeting.
You, Sean. Director, if you'd like to go ahead, get started on your presentations, and then where it makes sense to pause, we'll pause for questions.
Great. So, council members, you will have with you a folder that says the Department of Finance. I've included some handouts and descriptions that I'll talk through my presentation for you. In your packet, you'll have the presentation that I'm going to go through page by page. And then the third item, when we get into the actual budget details, is separated in the long forms with the organizational structure. So we'll first start with the PowerPoint and then go through the materials. So the way I organized the presentation today in the form of the agenda. So we are going to talk about the introduction of who the Department of Finance is, our results from last year, specifically from the department, our team, what's next, and then we'll close it out in discussions and what you may have specifically on the Department of Finance. I will note that this is not like in prior years, the status of the city's budget or the financials, as we know that will be prepared next month as we're coming out to the closeout. But retrospectively, if you do have some questions here, I do have Assistant Director Graves and Director Danny and a CFO to answer any type of questions as it relates to the status of the budget or the status of the city. So the Department of Finance vision statement is to empower excellence in finance through a commitment of high quality performance, collaborative success, expertise-driven leadership. Our mission statement is to prioritize and achieve excellence by fostering a culture of conscious improvement, facilitating success of others, the progress towards goals, maintaining expertise in finance, and delivering tangible results, and embracing a new challenge effectively in solving problems. I think in this past year and year and a half that I'm in the position, I've been really moving into that direction and fostering and creating a culture of change. Our roles and responsibilities, again, the Department of Finance is responsible for safeguarding all fiscal integrity throughout the city and through the development of sound implementation of policy and procedures. It is comprised of various divisions, budget OMB, collections, treasury and debt management, accounts and control, also known as the comptroller's office, purchasing procurement area, and grant administration. We're accountable for reporting the funds, managing the city's debt portfolio, advancing policy development, advancing agencies' issues on certain cases, and obtaining and monitoring our insurance policies. The next page on the slide deck is kind of sort of our process map so that you could see, what we have to do, right? We've got to close the books. We've got to manage the business performance. We've got to manage the business talent. We have to comply with regulations and provide decision support. Oftentimes we get asked in finance a lot of the times on things of performance or actual operations of the city. I think with finance, similar to our law departments, we provide that guided expertise support so that we can make the city often run. Going to the next page, you see the little last year with about the little growth slide in regards to how we've been growing and changing. We're now going to be moving into our accomplishments and goals throughout the department. And I have organized the slide deck in the area of by different offices. So with the director's office, we undertook many financial management updates. We are currently undergoing an ERP system update. In your folders, you'll have a progress status report from Edmunds in regards to the rollout. So we are expected, hopefully by July of 2024, to have all the implementation ready to go. So I did ask Edmunds to provide you a status report. It's in your folder. Any questions that you may have throughout the year, we do plan on scheduling training, overview, and so on and so forth as it relates to this. This is probably one of the biggest accomplishments I think that we have underway, because this is a 25-year-old, software that we're upgrading for the city. So there is a lot of work to be done in that regard. We achieved a credit rating upgrade from the last time that we spoke to now. I think that's something that is credited to testament to my team and how hard they work to turn it around. Normally Moody's does not turn around and change a negative outlook, but this time that they did. And so they rated us as stable. And so that was a great accomplishment from last year and this year in regards to our initiatives. We developed a year of, and this year was the year of POP, which was Policy, Operations, and Procedures. We also had my team create a Spotify playlist of a song related to the songs that related to every week. I would ask in my staff meetings, like, give me a song and we'll add this to this playlist. And so we were working on our greatest hits, and we were working on improving the city and what we needed to do in finance. We won't be sharing that playlist, but you can come to my office and there are some songs on there that I cannot share with people, but we will be sharing next week in our holiday celebration and reviewing some of the songs and so on and so forth. I think one of the songs that Kyle had said to us earlier this year was put 5 on it, and that's how kind of sort of we got the 5-year outlook. And so it was kind of sort of something we laughed about. And so trying to have fun in finance, I know we tend to be in our offices crunching numbers all day, but this is something that I cared about creating a culture of and a year of. With our budget and auditing, I mean, you saw this year that we submitted our budget much more timely than years prior, and we submitted our audit years prior. Again, we have in front of you the 5-year budget draft action plan, so you guys have a 5-year outlook to at least of what we prepared and start reviewing and summarizing and changes that you can start planning and thinking about. And then you were now advancing the budget schedule. I think that's a big accomplishment. I've heard from many of the council members and some of the other public administrators that in their 20-year plus year, they've never seen something like this. So I think this is a big milestone for the Department of Finance, and kudos to Danny, Kyle, John, and others in the department that are not here today who really help push and elevate this and get this done. Collaborative initiatives. We conducted a deep dive with our pilot and abatement portfolio with our financial advisors. We implemented staff promotions, enhanced management practices, and we successfully onboarded 2 interns, one from Vanderbilt University and from Rutgers University. And that was something post-pandemic that I wanted to start introducing and cultivating and training and getting interns to help support and learn. Again, we focused on community engagement. Through the VISTA program, we have a finance community coordinator that's coming on board. We joined Harvard's Procurement Excellence Network, which is something that we've been working towards in changing and modifying some of our procurement efforts. We worked on our strategic partnerships this year, where we've talked about it in many avails, the compensation study that's coming. We fostered new relationships with other banking institutions and other financial institutions to help guide us in our work. I've talked to Google Public Sector and just different initiatives of spending time outside of the office to try to see what else is out there as it relates to improving what we are doing. Next slide, slide 9. Again, I'll just go over, just high level in regards to what the CFO is actively curious and working on as being the custodian of our public funds. The accuracy of financial records, improving in those areas. Development of fiscal policies are the priorities from John, who's been a long time partner to the city and a public advocate for a lot of these efforts that we're undertaking. Compliance oversight, development of fiscal policy, so on and so forth. Accomplishments by area by the Office of Management and Budget. They, again, collaborated with many departments to stay within their budget constraints, and kudos to Danny for being able to complete that. We had timely completions of a lot of the priority projects that were underway. They drafted over 2,500 requisitions and assisted with over 500 resolutions and 41 ordinances this year. So a very busy area and division in working in OMB. Technology integration, we're working on with our Questica software to update and track our capital projects and ensuring cost developments and the savings stay below budgets. And on the employee front, we achieved milestones by promoting 7 minority fiscal officers, 5 including females, and he promoted 3 OMB staff members to the fiscal officers. So those are definitely great accomplishments within the year in the Department of Finance. In the area of collections, our tax collector's office, we recovered $6.6 million through a large-scale pilot in the audit. We maintained a 98% collection rate as of November 30th, and that will hopefully to increase. Operation improvements, they rectified all the 2017 tax lien sales, implemented a new filing tax system for files and ledgers, and then under the employee side, they promoted 1 employee who obtained their tax collector's license, and 2 others are enrolled in class. So you're seeing growth. Historically, when I took over the department, a lot of our employees were not in the certified courses, and so we're really actively caring about promotional growth. The controller's office. Our controller created a business intelligence tool to help streamline reviewing research. He's working on agile planning and automated the journal entries reviews to support mapping. He's standardized controls and standardized the templates for journal entries. He's improved the cash side controls and receivables, and then he's directed and worked on prior year closings and helping to mitigate and lessen our audit issues. Moving on to slide 14, accomplishments by area by the Division of Purchasing and Procurement. They processed over 300 bid proposals, RFPs, and RFQs from vendors. They issued 75 bids, RFPs. They digitized public records and contracts. I'm very proud of Raquel. She told me she threw away her typewriter, which is a huge accomplishment. And she was typing things in digital forms, so she's embracing the culture change as a, as we're looking to reform the procurement areas. They conducted citywide training for employees. We'd had a training in September, October earlier this year, where we're constantly training and reviewing and assessing the areas of work. In your packets, you will see a policy and procedures manuals for purchasing, and you also should see a quick guide. So even when you guys have questions that you can share with your aides and research, you have that available, and this will all be emailed to you as well. She and the purchasing team joined 18 nationalized cooperative purchasing programs. And as always, they're always looking to improve the doing business with the Jersey City workshop. Again, they processed over 5,000 requisitions and issued 4,000 purchase orders, including to enclose 450 contractual resolution and contracts. Grant administration by area. So they have been working last year we had a team of one. We've been able to add two additional members. They've worked on their policy and procedures manual. Again, you have a copy of that manual. In your packets, you'll see kind of sort of what a lot of questions have been asked from other hearings about grants, and you'll see the grant inquiry form in your packet. So you'll see that we will be cultivating questions as it relates to projects, programs, and areas as it relates to grant development citywide. So we've created a dashboard. You have an example of the grants dashboard that we're going to be using, the grant inquiry form, and that's all going to be tied into a system that collectively the areas will be able to work together in those results. They also did a citywide training. We did a 2-day grant training for not only for us, but for other employees so they can get familiar with the grant process. I will say in regards to, they talked about the grant setup form, and they've worked on fiscal management and technology advances. They have reconciled grants from 2014 and through 2019 to address any system errors. And so those are kind of sort of our goals, or sorry, our accomplishments for this year. Now we're going to move into our team structure and our organizational structure. So you see here the faces of the Department of Finance, John Mercer and his assistant with his cat. She's unpaid, as he says, but ultimately, this is who heads up the Department of Finance and our teams. I put their picture on the slide deck because I told them they didn't need to come today. They will be coming at the status of the budget when you want to know about deeper dives in purchasing and collections. This is purely on the department. And so the next slide on 19 is a summary of salary and wages and what we introduced. And so we adopted 6.1 in 2023. For 2024, we're asking it's an increase of 7.8 million, so an additional increase of 1.6. And so I'll pause here to move into the handout, the other handouts that have our org chart and the items. And so what I did is you'll see the Excel spreadsheet and the org chart right behind it. And so I highlighted the request as per the org chart and the areas. And so if you have any questions as it relates to that, happy to just continue to go through it, or we'll go back through it. So the first area with the director's office, there are some vacancies that I would like to fulfill in regards to getting a fiscal analyst, getting someone to do our this data processing coordinator. That's still service cited, but it's more of a data fiscal analyst. And then the role the CMFO will be moved into the director's office. Next page is the Office of Management and Budget. You'll see the organizational structure. What you'll see here is funded vacancies, requested position, and promotional title changes. Corresponding to that Excel sheet is you'll see the requested position. So this is what's been reflected and what's been already proposed to the administration. I had my meeting last week, Thursday, I believe, and we are just waiting to see what gets approved and finalized. None of this is final, but these are my requests. The next page is organizational structure is the division of purchasing. Oh, this came out a little small. So you'll see here in the division of purchasing, we're looking to add more staff and promote others. There's a new position that we're looking to address, which is the fixed assets manager position. This is something that's been in our audit for several years and trying to assess it. And I did present it to the administration on why we need this role and what is applicable for it. Whether it lives here in purchasing or somewhere else, that's still open up for discussion, but it's something that I will be drafting the job description for and taking steps to addressing some of those things that is really important and valuable kind of sort of to the city. you'll see some notes here as to like what's happening in purchasing, where is the volume? Does the operation meet the demand? Or what are we missing and where can we strengthen in different areas? And so these are the requests as presented for the Division of Purchasing, Treasury, and Debt Management. So when I took over the department in 2021, we did not have a director for this division. I think that the vacancy for this position is something that we're going to post for so that we have a little bit more direct management when it comes to our treasury and debt management and looking to either reform, modify, or address some things, because these are two big areas. You've got treasury and you've got debt and capital management, which I think are distinctive, but historically municipalities have grouped them together. And so my goal is to hire a director that will oversee and kind of sort of fulfill this operational plan as we work with some of the modification works with treasury and debt management. The next division I'm going to talk about is grant administration. We've got some changes there. We're requesting for another grant program manager and an area of compliance grant manager and a accounting specifically based on grant-based accounting. Grant-based accounting is distinctive in its nature, and we need someone working and supporting these areas. And last, well, actually not last, two more, accounts and control. So we here, if you look at the budget request and the vacancy and assistant, accounting assistants that are being requested, oftentimes this area also too needs additional support because as we set the budget through OMB and as we buy things, we still have to account for things. And this is an area where our current team is understaffed with the, billion-dollar city that we are between the municipal budget and the capital budget that has to be reconciled for. And so, yes, I would have money in for overtime, but I think if we adequately staff and get us to the appropriate efficiencies, the new director, the new comptroller will be able to successfully manage some of the areas a little bit more better. And then you'll see less audit findings that I think historically we've just had because we haven't been appropriately supported at the staffing levels. And last is the division of collections. Last year, we spent some time in staffing up the position. This year, we just had one retirement, so we're looking to replace that retirement and keep the division as where it is. The current tax collector did a lot of restructuring and management, and it's where you see this kind of sort of the results that you're seeing in the division of collection. So I'll stop here if you, before I continue with my presentation, or if you have any questions on the specifics. Okay. So if you were to support some of the requests that we're making, our goals for next year, again, is to continue to work on professional development and employee opportunities. I want to cross-train a lot of the employees in the department in just not having one person having a CMFO. I want someone to get their QPA. I want people to start working on all areas of finance so that we all collectively know that. Again, with the technology advancement with the admins and successfully getting that underway. Policy and procedures. So this year I did set out to have policy and procedures manuals for all of my divisions. I've successfully I've had 3. We still 3 need the others. And I think that the accounting, the tax collection, and treasury and debt management are a little bit more technical than writing something in-house. And so we'll be looking to solicit or procure someone else to help us write some of those frameworks. And also too, with the change with the admin system, all that's kind of sort of going to be changed. So those things with the year of POP and still working on those procedures, my goal is to extend the additionals into 2024 so that the entire department will have standard SOPs, standard operating procedures, and that we can train to that and train others citywide as the collective. Budget construction and budget control. I think that by empowering these areas and supporting this area, we'll be able to collaborate more, address some of our deficiencies. I think that we're getting to par, but we still don't know what we don't know, and we're not studying like our revenue policies. We're not looking at other consistent revenues or other areas that I think we should do. We should be looking at and supporting some of those requests. Looking to close out a lot of prior year audit findings that I think that can be accomplished as I review the report. We just need the support of the staff to be able to do some of that work. With purchasing and compliance, I mean, I think, you know, they want to digitize their W-9 forms. They want to keep departments and divisions ahead of the public law contracts. They want to digitize partial payment vouchers and C vouchers and change orders. They want to maintain a near perfect audit. And so those are all great goals for those areas. Grant administration, they want to reconcile all grant accounts to date. They want to enhance collaboration and communication internals controls. They want to digitize the work and develop grant models for analytics to integrate grant gap with our financial systems. Treasury and debt management, they want to fulfill compliance in future audits, strive to eliminate reconciling items, reconcile the issues between payroll and treasury. Oftentimes there's some areas that we need to address there. And then again, I think overall in 2024, we want to enhance our training and skills developments, where it's going to be the year of data and finance for us. It's going to be the year of efficiency and timely submission. And so overall, we have our goals and summarizing, we're heading into a transformational year in finance. We're going to get our work done. We're going to be working on collaborations and efficiency and compliance, and that we're leaders, and that we want to be the trusted experts as we navigate the city's finances through and through. Slide 25 talks about the next steps as it relates to where we are. So as you'll see, in September of this year, we did our budget kickoff meeting. We had our budget preparation and began our closeout process. We began doing the financial analysis in comparison to the 5-year outlook. In November and December, our fourth quarter taxes were collected began the collections on 11/1. We've had our budget workshops. We're in our middle of our budget hearings. We're preparing our revenue projections, our accelerated tax sales next week. The 15th, sorry, yeah, the 15th. For our accelerated tax sale, we're reviewing our expenses. The outlook for January to March is we'll have a hearing or a meeting on the status of the budgets. If there are any amendments, we'll work on an amendment, and then we'll have our public hearings. We're looking to approve the budget late February, early March. And then what's going to happen March to September is that we'll have budget management implementation. We'll have a mid-year review between June and July. We'll start our end-of-year assessment. And then September of next year, we'll be rolling out the 2025 budget process. So that, in a nutshell, is what the Department of Finance is working on, our goals, our accomplishments, our projections. And so, you know, thank you to the council for hearing us out, and then open up the floor for any questions that you may have specifically on the Department of Finance. Oh, I will say that I am going to change the presentation for next year. hence what you saw. It's been, you know, we've had it for a couple of years, and Kyle and I have been talking about it. And I said, you know what, I'll start with you. I'm not going to wait till next year. I'll do it this year. So it looks kind of sort of gives you the idea of the direction that we're heading into.
Great. So are there any questions? Nope. Okay. Great. Thank you. Yeah, very thorough. Thank you, Director. Yeah.
Thank you.
I like your pictures.
I also have a couple of cat assistants, so I appreciate that as well. They're some of my confidential aides.
Thank you.
Not only that though, Director, it was a good presentation, but I know that you are bringing the finance department on the level that the city should be. you know, and I really want to say thank you. Just people don't realize it because I've been in this office for quite some time now, and just for us to do a budget hearing early, you know, and I know it had to come also with the finance director, you know, working to get that done. So I really wanted to let you know, I really do appreciate that. I'm quite sure the public appreciate that. And this way here, we can really in our budget process. Because a lot of times when we have a budget process afterwards, it's not much that we can have an input in the budget. People don't realize that. But if we have a budget process beforehand, then the council do have some type of input in the process itself. And so I know that comes with the finance division also. So I want to say thank you for that. And I know the divisions that are under you appreciate it too, because you're bringing them to the next level, which I believe in a city that we all should go to the next level. Our skill set should get improved. And I see that you have the training and you don't see, what I like about your presentation, what you said is not like one staff member knowing one thing. You know, is everybody being equipped to do the job just in case somebody else is not there. And going forward, I hope other departments take that lead too, because we are in a time that we should be multifaceted with skill sets. I think that's important. I don't think people realize that. I know when I worked the hospital years ago, we had to be cross-trained in so many different departments because it had to function. And so as a city, we need to be cross-trained in so many different departments, especially if you're all under finance, purchasing and all of that. Because if something happens, then you can always pull staff to make sure that the operation itself continue to function. And that's what, you know, any organization should be about. But a lot of times they don't see government organization as like an organization in itself. They just keep saying government. Like they don't look at us like part as a private sector with skill sets and things like that. So I do appreciate that with your presentation.
You, Council President.
Okay, so if there's no further questions or comments, can I entertain a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Council President and seconded by Councilperson Prinzari. Okay, motion to adjourn at 12:39 PM. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we are closed at 12:39 PM. I believe our next hearing is at 1, is that correct? Oh, no, actually, no, it's tomorrow, I think. So, all right, so good night, everybody. So long, take care.